leaving him on the bench this week, but he's got a great matchup against the Washington football team, who've allowed a top 5 quarterback in 6 of the last 9 games. So to me, I think that Russell Wilson has built up enough goodwill with us throughout the entirety of his career that in a great matchup like this, he deserves one more shot. Or otherwise he's on the bench.
If there's ever a week to let Russ cook, you would think it'd be Thanksgiving.
Right.
All right, so who is the green bean casserole at the quarterback position this week?
Well, I'm going to go with Tua Tagovailoa. He's had fewer than 18 fantasy points in 3 consecutive games. And really, his great games have come against Jacksonville and against the Atlanta Falcons. So unless he's playing one of those 2 teams, I'm not that interested. The Panthers are a really tough matchup. They've allowed the 5th fewest fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this season. And another one that I don't like this week, and I hate to do it because he's been playing really well, but it's Carson Wentz against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you know what? The one thing that stands out to me is that he's had only 1 game where he's thrown for over 300 yards this season. The Buccaneers have also been really tough against quarterbacks too. You see right there, they've allowed 1 top 5 fantasy quarterback this season. That was Matthew Stafford way back in week 3. So it's been a great story. I'm happy for Carson Wentz and everything, but unfortunately, he's going to have to sit on the bench.
All right. That gets us to the wide receivers, who are sort of like your high-profile side dishes, your sweet potatoes, your mac and cheese. So who are we starting this week?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were back on the Mike Williams hype train. I did that pretty well, I thought. Don't laugh. Mike Williams is a player that we really like. Obviously, our faith in him was paid off Sunday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers when he had the eventual winning touchdown against that team. And you know what? The targets have been there. As a matter of fact, last year, in 2 games against the Denver Broncos, he had 18 total targets, 10 in one, 8 in the other. So I expect him to be, again, a high focal point of this offense going up against the Denver Broncos, who give up production to the opposing wide receivers. And another receiver that I like is Jarvis Landry. He's actually averaged close to 16 fantasy points per game since joining the Cleveland Browns. He's averaged over 8 targets per game since week 7. That would make him right around the wide receiver 16 in that category. And Baltimore's been allowing a lot of production to opposing wide receivers. We saw it last week with Darnell Mooney. He had a pretty good game. And I think that Jarvis Landry is the guy to go to because of the targets. But if you need a deep sleeper, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones also has an opportunity against the Ravens this week.
So those are the tasty side dishes. Which wide receivers are basically that Jell-O with the fruit in it?
Well, I'm going to have to sit Courtland Sutton, and a big reason why is the lack of production ever since Jerry Jeudy has come back to the starting lineup. It just hasn't been there. And the Broncos have a lot of good wide receivers. I mean, Tim Patrick just got paid. Patrick was talking about that a moment ago, Jerry Jeudy. And the matchup is actually good for the tight ends. And I don't want to spoil anything, but Noah Fant might be on this list later. Another sit for me is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. Against the Packers. Like, it's cool that he comes and joins the party and you start throwing YOLO balls to him. But like, that's not a great idea. Like tonight, Wednesday night, biggest party night of the year. Mm-hmm. Okay, when somebody walks in that you haven't seen for months, don't send them to the bar immediately and be like, yeah, go get it. No, let them sit down, let them take their coat off, maybe let them relax. You let them saunter into the business. You don't sit there and start throwing hero balls to them immediately. So I think the Rams need to dial it back. Hey, I think they need to, I know you weren't waving at me, you're pointing to the camera. But listen, they need to dial it back with Odell Beckham Jr. And by the way, try running the football. It's the Packers. You can run on them. Darrell Henderson should have a good game.
I mean, if you were really going to be a good friend, you would actually go to the bar and get that person a drink.
No, you
let them catch up with everybody else.
Send somebody else to get it, but just not that person who walked in.
Even that. Anyway, Rank's going to have